to record. I've heard some horror stories how people always lose their stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you wouldn't mind stating your name and the date. Before.
Yeah. Maxwell Morgan, April 4th, 2014.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. So where were you born and how was that?
I was born in Juba,
Okay.
Sudan. At the time it was Sudan, but now it's South Sudan, which is an independent country.
Okay. And what was kind of the alter point for them to split to the Republic of South Sudan?
Well, since we got independence as a country in the 50s, we've always had issues, not necessarily like the South has had issues with the North, but the North has wanted to make the South, which is Christian and more African, into an Arab Islamic country.
Okay.
By force, but you can't force anybody to be a certain religion. So that's where the point of conflict has come. And we also had oil discoveries, so money always plays a
natural
part.
resources.
Yeah, so they wanted to own the resources, but they didn't want the people.
Okay.
So that's what the emphasis of the conflict came from.
And that conflict still goes on today?
Yeah, to a smaller extent because we are independent countries.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's more of like, okay, it's a national, it's this nation versus this nation, instead of we're one country fighting over resources. So now we are a sovereign country, so we own our resources.
Okay.
So the problems we have now are kind of like any other two countries would have between themselves.
Okay, sure. And you were born in Juba, and then you also mentioned you lived in Khartoum?
Yeah,
as
I lived in Khartoum, yes.
Khartoum.
When I was born, my father had actually went to Khartoum because in the South he was targeted. Because all the Southern intellectuals were targeted by the North, and he had gotten education in Uganda,
Okay.
so he had come back to help in the struggle. So he was a target. Actually, at the time, 200 of his best friends and colleagues were killed by North Sudan at the time, so he had to escape. So it was me and my mother alone in Juba. So after I was born, we went to go meet up with him in Khartoum.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you were still pretty young at this time? How old?
Yeah, I was 1 year old. I was still.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Still baby.
I don't really remember that at all.
Okay. And then so you left Juba with your mom and lived in Khartoum until.
We lived there for about another year with one of my uncles, and then we went back to the South because we thought everything was going well, and we wanted to go get. I have two other brothers.
Okay.
They weren't with us at the time, so we tried to go back to get them so we can escape out of the country. But unfortunately, by the time we got back, the war had already, evolved to the point where we couldn't go and get them. So we had to basically run for our lives to Kenya, and that's how we ended up in Kenya,
Okay.
at a refugee camp.
And what was that like? Like, how old were you when you went to Kenya?
But by the time we got to Kenya, I was 3, and I remember parts of it. I remember it being it was very packed. Obviously it was a lot of tents.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people were there. It was chaotic, and we would usually in the morning we'd have tea and biscuits or something like that. But yeah, it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough.
And your brothers were how old at this time?
My brother was my brother Nelson. He was about 15. He was a teenager.
Okay.
And my brother, who's a little bit older than me, 5 years older than me, Emmanuel, he was about 8 at that time.
And did you meet back up with them? Did they come to Kenya as well, or?
No, actually, they didn't come to. Well, we actually met them in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
we had to go. We had to talk to Senator John Thune of South Dakota,
Uh-huh.
and he actually went and actually got connections with people in the refugee camps. My brother actually had to go to Ethiopia because he couldn't go to Kenya because that route was blocked at that time.
Okay.
So he had to run to Ethiopia. So we got him, and then my other brothers came later. My other brother came later in about 1998.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you came to the States what year?
In 1992.
1992.
Yeah.
So 6 years after.
Yeah.
And-
So I didn't meet my brothers until I was like probably 10 or so.
Wow, how was that for you? Your first experience?
It was a very anxious moment because I knew I had brothers, but I never seen them. So I just wanted to meet them. I just wanted to talk to them, and it was a very good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Very
very good
happy.
experience.
Did you guys all meet in Cleveland? Was it? Is where?
Well, after we came to America, we were brought to Cleveland, but we stayed in Cleveland for about 2 years, and then we were transferred to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because we had some friends and family who had lived with us in the refugee camp. So they transferred us to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so we could all be together. And that's where I grew up for the next 10 years of my life. And that's
Okay.
where we met up with my brothers, and that's where we became like a family once again.
And was your extended family living with you in South Dakota too?
Yeah, I had
Okay.
extended family. They also came to South Dakota as well.
Okay. So you lived with them in the refugee camp in Kenya, and did you all come over together?
We came separately. They came before us because my father, like I said, he was educated in English. So in the refugee camp, he was actually like a leader. He was a translator. So he translated for most of the families that came to America. So they kept him there longer because they wanted, him to help translating. So they came before us, but they only came about a year before us.
Okay, so
91.
1991.
Yeah, they came
Okay,
in 91.
92.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was life like in the refugee camp? Is that one of the things you remember most, more than?
I do. It was. I just remember playing like as a child. You don't realize certain things. I just thought it was normal. I would just go outside and play with the other kids like in our compound.
Mhm.
So I didn't really think about it. But as I got older, I kind of started realizing certain things. Like I remember seeing dead bodies. Like there's a lot of things you see that you don't really think about until you get older.
Mhm.
So it was pretty crazy now that I reflect back and think about it.
Yeah, just at the time, it just seemed like
It seemed normal. I just thought we were just playing. I just thought it was just normal everyday life.
Oh, really?
You don't understand.
Mm.
You don't understand like until you like come and see a better life. You don't understand how bad like of a situation you were going through at the time.
So living conditions were just.
It was very how would I say this? It would be like living in a room with about 6 people. You have to share everything. There's no privacy. People were sick all the time. It was a very chaotic life, I would say.
Mhm. Were you ever sick at all in the refugee camp?
Actually, no, I wasn't.
No.
I wasn't. Yeah, I got lucky. 'Cause my parents tried to also keep us contained in a certain area. They didn't want us to, go too far away. They'd let us play, but we didn't play with our neighbors that are around us. We
Okay.
wouldn't go too far. Because there was there were other people from other countries and stuff, and there was there's problems in between the communities. there as
Was
well.
that ethnic or cultural?
Yeah, because there were Somalians there was Kenyans there was Ugandans, there was all of East Africans were there, so there was already a lot of problems there. So
Did you have any conflict with anyone? Personally?
no, I didn't. But from what I heard, my father said that there was problems with Somalians at first, but then they had a meeting and they discussed it. They said we're all refugees, we're all here for the same reason. There's no reason for us to fight. We're just trying to escape violence, so there's no reason for us to continue fighting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So what type of friends did you meet in the refugee camp?
Well, actually, 2 of my best friends right now, I met in the refugee camp,
Yeah.
and our families are close. Our families have been close. One of my uncles, who's a doctor now in Omaha, he was in the refugee camp as well with us, and a couple of my other close friends were there as well. So a lot of my friends and family that I know, and a lot of people that I knew that I know now that were in that refugee camp that I didn't know were still there, but it's so large that it's hard to know everybody there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So some of the ties and relationships you made in the refugee camp
Mhm.
transferred over here when you came over here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you still have those and they're just as strong then?
Oh, definitely. I feel like our relationship is stronger because of that. Because once you go through certain experiences with people in your life, like you feel a certain closeness. It's like going to war with somebody. After coming back, you're gonna have that. It's gonna be beyond like a friendship. It's gonna be like a family like tie. That's why I call them my family, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what were the biggest challenges for you coming from Kenya to the United States?
Well, like I said, I was fortunate enough that my parents spoke English.
Mhm.
So English was spoken in our house because
Okay.
Kenya's their national language is English. So I knew how to speak English. So coming over here wasn't too big of a transition, and I was young enough to catch school. I got right into preschool, and I got into school right away. So it wasn't really that difficult for me. But growing up, it's more of like trying to maintain your cultural values and assimilating also as well with the American culture. So I'd go to school in the daytime, then I would learn American culture, and then I'd come back home, and I'm back to my traditional culture. But I feel like my parents did a good job of balancing the two. Like we would eat all of our original foods, even though my mom, she took like cooking classes to learn how to cook American food,
Mhm.
but we still maintain like our values and our
Okay.
traditions.
That's great. Yeah. let's see. So did your mom come here and find a job originally when you guys came over? How did that work?
Well, when we first got here, my father actually got a job right away. They got him, since he had a degree already, he just got right into the workforce. They took him to training classes in Cleveland, so he started working right away. My mother, she didn't start working right away, but we had sponsors who would support us. They, support us financially and stuff like that. So we were lucky.
You were put in touch with them immediately when you came over here?
Yes, as soon as we got to Cleveland, we were picked up by groups of churches. It was a big deal. We were put in the newspaper as the first Sudanese family. It was a pretty big deal. So there was a lot of outreach. There was a lot of support. I remember on the weekends, like every weekend, a different church or community would come and take us out and buy us. Like when I was a child in Cleveland, I had I had toys, I had everything I could ever imagine. Like I didn't want to leave.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. When I first got here, they took me to a Cleveland Indians game, to a Cleveland Cavaliers game. So I always remember that.
Okay, so you're a big Cavs fan?
Yeah, LeBron fan.
Okay, sure. Right on. That's funny. Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm a little bit of a Clippers fan.
Clippers?
Yeah.
Over the Lakers?
Yeah, I didn't really go for that at all. Yeah, so how do you mentioned that it was difficult balancing the Americanization and then your own cultural aspects. How do you still struggle with that today? How do you go about that?
No, not so much today, because the older I got, the more I wanted to actually learn more of my African culture and kind of resonate more with that side. Since we came here, I haven't gone back, but that's one of my main goals right now is I want to go back and I want to get back in touch. I want to relearn some of the languages that I knew growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's even easier now for me to identify with that side than it was growing up. Because, in school and stuff like that, children are mean sometimes, they make fun of you for certain things. So it was difficult growing up, but now it's not even an issue anymore.
Okay. What language was it that you spoke?
Well, in Sudan we speak Arabic.
Okay.
So I still speak that, but in Kenya the national language is Swahili.
Okay.
So I used to know how to speak that, but there's not that many Swahili speakers that I run into anyway. So I kind of forgot how to speak that. I still understand it, but I want to become fluent in it again.
In Swahili? Are you fluent in Arabic as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you take that at the university at all?
I did not.
Okay.
I should have tested. Into it so I could, but
yeah.
It's fine.
A couple of my friends back home in California are from Iran.
Yeah.
And they taught me Slom Hekon.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was interesting.
So I get all the time.
Yeah, Slom Hekon. Yeah, so that's cool. So you mentioned that one of the big struggles was the Muslim influence and the Christian influence.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that and the pressures that people face, and did you face any of that pressure yourself?
It was more like in our country. It was more since the government at the time, it was an Islamic government, and their goal was Islamization of Sudan completely.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like a forced thing. They would come and they would come to your village or your town, and they would tell you, if you don't convert to Islam, we're gonna shoot you, we're gonna kill you. So it wasn't really like an option for you to be a Muslim. They would try to force you to become a Muslim. And a religion should be something that's of choice, that should be between you and your God, whoever you want to pray to. But I feel like it hasn't really had an influence on me, because obviously we're Christian. It kind of almost strengthened our faith in Christianity even more.
Sure.
But like my best friend that I told you that grew up in a refugee camp, he's Muslim.
Uh-huh.
A lot of my friends' family are Muslim. So it doesn't affect the people. It's just politics. That's really what it is.
Okay.
It's the politics. It's not really like, I don't have a problem with Muslims. I don't have a problem with anybody. I treat people how they treat me, basically.
Sure.
So yeah, but I have seen it in our country. Like there's a lot of negativity, maybe I would say, towards Islam as a whole now because of the situation.
And that's mostly from the south?
Yeah, it's mostly in the south. In the north, they definitely. You can't build churches in the north. They
really?
ban. It's basically Christianity is basically banned in the north.
Okay, that's interesting.
And yeah, a lot of the negativity or animosity comes from the war, because during the war, they would purposely bomb churches. They would come to cities and would just bomb all the churches because they knew that's where people would congregate at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where like all of that tension comes from, is because of the bombing of churches and stuff like that. Killing of priests, they used to do that as well. Yeah.
Public display.
Public, yeah, they would nail people to crosses, not to crosses, to trees.
Really?
Yeah, they would nail people to trees.
And did you witness any of this?
I did not witness this. We were already gone by that time, so I
Okay.
didn't witness this. But some of my brothers, they witnessed this. They were almost, the reason why we contacted John Thune, the senator, was because they were trying to actually enlist my brothers into the army, and they were young. They were teenagers.
What army was that?
In the rebel movement of South Sudan.
Okay, and they were old enough, so they...
Yeah, if you're old enough to hold a gun, they basically see that you're basically a man. You can fight. So we were trying to rescue them from that situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys got there just in time, so...
Yeah. We got my other brother. We got him, Emmanuel. We got him into Ethiopia. But my other brother Nelson, he was still in South Sudan.
Okay.
Well, we linked up with some family members and we got him out of that situation as well.
And then did he go to Ethiopia with your other brother, or did he go...
No, he went to Egypt actually.
He went to Egypt,
He found a way to go to Egypt with one of my uncles. My uncle was going to go to Egypt, so he took him with him, just to get him out of Sudan. So
yeah, you guys all went different, and then all came over to the States?
Yeah.
Where do they all live now? Do they live here in Nebraska or still in...
My brother Emmanuel, he lives in South Dakota still.
Okay.
He's married with kids there. My brother Nelson, he's in the army actually.
Okay.
In Louisiana.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Doing basic or?
Yeah. Well, no, he's gone on tour a couple of times already.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Afghanistan, but he's actually a translator, I believe.
He speaks Arabic.
Yeah, he speaks Arabic.
Yeah. And he likes what he does.
Yeah. He
does.
He does.
How does that previous ethnic clash that he saw in Sudan, did that carry over at all to...
Oh, he definitely feels stronger. He definitely feels stronger about certain things than me.
Okay.
Because I grew up here, so I didn't I wasn't faced with that reality.
Okay.
So he feels strongly about a lot of things. He gets mad, he gets angry about a lot of things, and I think, he doesn't tell me, but I think he has PTSD from some of the things he's seen.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine some of the things that he's gone through, and even there in the war as well, maybe they correspond with each other.
That's why I think it was good for him to join the army, because it gave him like a discipline and a way to channel maybe like whatever he's seen into like into something good.
Yeah. So that's great. So in the refugee camp, do you remember anything that stuck out? Some memorable moments, some of the relationships you met?
I remember that even though people in the refugee camp didn't have a lot, I remember on birthdays and like Christmas, there would be huge celebrations. That people would just be out partying, dancing. Even though we didn't have a lot, people would just be so full of life. That's what I remember. I definitely remember that people would always celebrate, no matter what was going on. I don't really remember people being like upset or mad like that.
Were they like birthdays or?
Yeah, big birthdays. I remember I had one of my birthdays there, and I felt like it was the greatest birthday ever.
Yeah.
I had like a little cake and everything. I don't know how that happened, but yeah.
That's awesome.
It's real. It's like a community, When you're in that situation, everybody, whatever they have, they come together, for a certain cause. Whether it's a birthday, it's like a celebration for everybody,
Yeah.
So that's what I really remember, is that close-knit, that family, like, relationship that we had in the camp.
And that tight bond you guys had just carried over here to the States, and now it's even stronger, as you mentioned.
Definitely.
Cool. Let's see. I don't know if that kept going. So you mentioned you wanted to go back. What are some of the things you want to do? You want to find some of the people that you made relationships with there, and you haven't been able to get in contact with, or how did that go?
Well, most of the people I met, in the refugee camp, I know them now because they came to America. But I really want to meet my grandma, my last living grandma. I haven't met her yet. She's never even seen me because at the time she got split from my mom during the war. So I have never even got to see her yet, and that's really what I want to go do. I want to go meet my last living family members that I can. That's what I want to do.
So were you in contact with them when you were little with your mom, or?
Oh yeah, I speak to her. I spoke to her maybe a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep in contact with her.
And she's in Juba still, or?
No, she is in a village now because, another civil war broke out earlier in late 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So she had to get out of Juba. But she's safe. She's safe in the village now. But it's hard to get a hold of her, because you can't always make a call, or sometimes like the lines will be down for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to get a hold of her. But I try to talk to her as much as I can.
Is most of the conflict after that second outbreak in southern Sudan itself, or has that carried over?
Oh, it's in southern Sudan, but North Sudan, they have their own. They have another civil war going on right now, but that's separate from what we have going on.
Okay, so they're kind of on a two-front basis.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So I heard your dad is an ambassador.
Yes.
What's his role, and how does that?
Well, like I said, when we came in, my father came with us.
Mm-hmm.
We were all together as a family. But in 2004, when we were going to when we were actually separating away from the north, we were going through the process. We had a peace agreement. Our late president, our original president, who died in a plane crash, John Garren, he went to Iowa State University.
Okay.
So he had a meet and greet with the Sudanese people, and my father was there. And he told them that, I need you to come back home and help. I need everybody that has any type of knowledge or technical skill to come back to the country because we have nothing. So at that time, he left, and I was like a sophomore in high school. So he left us. Well, he didn't leave us, but he went to South Sudan to go help, to go volunteer his time and services. So he's been there ever since. And when we officially broke away from North Sudan, he became an ambassador, and he was working in New Delhi, India.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's back in Juba. He's probably going to get assigned to somewhere else because since the war broke out, they're reshuffling the government.
So the capital might change again.
Yeah.
More where it might end up.
I don't know. I really don't know. Right now, everything is fluid, so we don't know anything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's still playing out. We don't even know if they're going to sign a peace agreement or not. So it's just everything is in the air right now.
And this is still from the same ethnic clash that happened previously?
Yeah, this is it's kind of a complicated situation. This current conflict is an ethnic conflict because our president is from the majority group, the Dinka tribe, and the vice president is from the Nuer tribe. And it was originally a political disagreement, but it has taken on ethnic overtones now. Because everybody wants to support their side. And the army is split, the whole country is split, and it's basically just...
Could you explain that Dinka relationship?
Oh yeah, the Dinka, they're the most populous particular tribe. They're not the majority in South Sudan as a whole, but as a particular tribe, they are the largest tribe. And, some of the other tribes, like such as the Nuer, they're the next biggest tribe. They feel that the Dinka are monopolizing the government, and they feel that they should have like a bigger part in the government. So they took up arms basically to fight.
And this is within South Sudan?
This is within South Sudan. This is all within South Sudan right now. It has nothing to do with religion or anything. This is like an ethnic, tribal situation. Right
Okay, and that's because the Dinka are the majority and... Okay.
Yes, and other tribes feel like they're controlling the majority of the jobs and all of the secure positions or like financial. They feel the other tribes feel that the Dinka are taking advantage of that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And was there this type of tribal conflict within the refugee camp you were in at all?
Oh yes, definitely. But during that time, since we had a common enemy per se, people didn't really, we were more united as, okay, we're South Sudanese, we're going to fight for our independence, we're one people. But then when we got our independence, greed and politics and all that got involved, just like it does in almost every African country. So that's what we're facing right now.
Okay.
We basically need a lot of reforms. We need as much help as we can get right now. And like I said, we're only 2 years old, so we have a long way to go. A lot of countries got their independence in the 50s and they're still struggling, today. So we just, we need as much help from the international community as we can get right now to solve our problems.
So this is something that you're obviously very passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you maybe want to get involved with it in the future?
I definitely want to help in any capacity I can, but I would more, instead of getting into the politics, I would rather go back and open clinics or bring services to the people, because, you know, politicians aren't the ones that are really suffering. You know, they're good. They have their money. They sleep in their houses. You know, but right now we have a huge humanitarian situation where 1 million people could starve if they're not helped by May. You know, by the end of May, because the rainy season is coming and they can't plant their foods because they're all out in the jungle. You know, they can't be in the cities because the cities are a war zone right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're facing a real big humanitarian situation. That's what I'd like to help with the most.
And has the UN stepped in and tried to help with that?
Yeah, the UN is there. They're there, but you know, they need a lot more help. They need a lot more money to be pledged. They need a lot more, you know, doctors or whatever. We need as much resources as we can get right now, because it's just too much for the UN. The amount of UN that's there right now, it's just too much. It's just too much.
It's just too overwhelming.
Yeah, it's too
population. How big is the South Sudanese population?
Well, when they did the last census in 2010, they said we had 8 million people. But a lot of people think the number is higher than that. But let's say 8 to 10 million. That's the range of our country right now.
Okay. And how many of that will be directly impacted from not getting the resources they need?
Well, a lot of people like ran to Uganda and Kenya, so they're okay. They're in refugee camps right now in Uganda and Kenya. But they said directly affected. They said about 3 million right now are directly affected by, are in danger of either, you know, being killed or dying from other related, you know, situations from the war.
How many people do you think left to go to those refugee camps of those 8 to 10?
I would say a good 2 to 3 million. I would say
2 to 3 million.
Because I know a lot of people that were there, that are still there, that have gone to these places. A lot of my family members, you know, a lot of people I know, especially from here in Lincoln and Omaha, because we have a huge population of South Sudanese. But the majority of South Sudanese here are from the Nuer tribe, who were directly affected, more so I would say, than other tribes. So yeah.
Does that tribal controversy is that still present here in America, or has that just left?
As a younger generation, because a lot of us, we grew up here, you know, we weren't involved we didn't go to war against each other, you know, so we don't have that animosity. But I've seen a lot of people on Facebook and a lot of people just talking. I will say that there's a lot more tension now. There's a lot more tension between different ethnicities. My best friends are newer, you know, I have no problem. And I'm actually from a minority tribe. I'm Equatorian. I'm from the capital, actually.
Okay.
So my tribe isn't technically fighting in this war, so I don't really have like a dog in the race, as they would say.
Yeah.
But you know, they're all my people at the end of the day. So I don't discriminate against one or the other. All we want is just peace. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've been actually trying to like bring both sides together.
Here in the States,
we're trying to
transfer that over there.
Yeah, we're trying to form like a youth league where we can just it doesn't matter what tribe you're from, we can just come and talk as a youth of South Sudan, because you know, we're the ones that are going to be like in control of this country very soon. So we can't carry on the traditional ethnic rivalries that have been going on, because that's not going to take us anywhere.
How far in the future do you see a compromise happening between these two? It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say.
It's just an ongoing process.
It's really hard to say it, but I would say maybe 10 years. I would hope
10 years?
Yeah, I would hope so.
And when that would happen, would you go back and live there permanently, or would you'd definitely go back?
I would even go back before that happens.
Okay.
Because you know, some things you can't wait for. You know, you can't sit and wait for some people. So I would, if I had the right opportunity, after I finished my school, I would definitely go back and try to help in any way I can. If I got a job helping or doing anything like that, working with any organization, I would definitely take it. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So what are some of the things you miss the most when you think about Sudan, you're living here, and what are the things that just bring you back and say, I wish I had that back from my childhood?
Only thing I really think about like that, since I was young, I didn't really I didn't have the experience that an adult would have, you know. But family, definitely. Family is the only thing that I wish that I could experience. Like, I wish I could be with my family there, especially during these times. That's the only thing my mind goes back to.
Have they wanted to leave and come to the States?
Yeah, they wanted to, but it's especially since September 11th happened. It's more difficult to just go to another country, and since we technically stopped having war, they can't really come here as refugees anymore because we have our own country. So they can't really come as refugees like we came as refugees. That's why we were able to come to America.
So it was a lot easier process for you with everything going on to come to the United States?
Oh yeah. Because restrictions were a lot less strict, I would say, than now, especially since the whole terror thing.
So it seems like you were in Kenya for a short amount of time?
Yeah, about a year.
A year?
About a year.
Okay, and what was the process like getting acceptance to the United States?
Well, we had to apply as refugees. They interviewed us, they asked us, our story and what happened. So you have to go through the interview process, and then you're selected. It's kind of like a lottery. They pick a certain number of people, and we were just lucky enough to get selected.
What was that interview process like for you, especially being as young as you were?
I don't really even remember the process. I just remember when we were about to come to America, we had to go through an orientation process, where they teach you, about America. And I remember they taught us about, snow, because in Africa you don't have no idea about snow.
Yeah. What was that like? Because it's warm climate there.
They told us
and it's freezing.
They told us it'd be very cold and that not to eat the snow because it's not sugar. That's what they told us. But yeah, they just gave us like a crash course on America basically. And I understand they have good intentions, but like when you get here, it's completely different.
Yeah,
it's a whole different.
What were some of the differences that they didn't teach you and you weren't really prepared for?
The one thing I noticed was growing up, I thought that obviously I knew I was black. I knew I was black. So I figured I would face maybe like racism from like white people. But actually growing up, it was more, I used to get more harassed, I would say, by black people here. They would be like, oh, you're not black, like you're from Africa, or they would try to make fun of me because I was dark skinned or something, And I never understood that. I never understood how you could try to make fun of. So I saw them as my brothers, I looked at them, I looked at myself. So I just wondered, it always confused me, like why are they picking on me? Why are they trying to make fun of me for this when they're black just like me, So that's probably the one thing that like threw me off about America. That was about it.
Was that racism kind of thing?
Yeah, like colorism, I would say.
Colorism?
Like, just because I'm a little bit darker than you, and you think you're better than me, or you have the right to say this about me. That's what I didn't understand.
Do you still feel that today at all?
I don't really feel it, but I know it's present. I see it all the time.
You do?
I see people. I see it in the younger kids. That's usually what it is. I see it
in like the middle school and high school and
I see it
just when they're egotistical selves.
Yeah. But see, that's what I understand. I'm like, okay, well, that's how kids are for the most part. But when you hit a certain age, it's your responsibility not to be ignorant anymore. Like you have to take it upon yourself. So I feel like after a certain age, high school and on, like you should kind of, you don't necessarily have to like go out of your way to learn cultures, but you need to, at least be cognizant of differences. And be tolerant of differences.
And that kind of just goes with you have to understand their background, where they come from and whatnot.
Yeah, the more you understand, the more it'll be easier for you to accept.
Okay.
Because when you don't know, a lot of people are scared of what they don't know. But if you don't take your time, then you have no excuse to be ignorant.
How did you kind of get through that? And did you like talk to your mom? I'm sure it was real confusing.
Yeah.
How was that whole process?
Yeah, I mean, like me and my father, we have a pretty good relationship. Like he talked, even when I was younger, he talked to me like an adult. He would tell me like, this is how it is, and like this is why this is. And yeah, I told him that, and he was like, yeah, well, you can't. People are gonna be ignorant no matter if they're black or white. So you can never. Don't take that to heart. All you can do is try to educate. That's the only thing you can do is try to educate instead of getting mad. So that kind of always stuck with me growing up. Because I used to get into fights all the time. I used to get expelled because anytime somebody made fun of me, all I knew how to do was just to fight them.
Definitely.
Make them respect me. That's how I used to think. But now, like, instead of getting mad, I'll just have a conversation with that person. And I've learned that after you have a conversation with somebody, then like they almost feel bad, you know, like
they
almost feel
make
bad.
them realize, because sometimes they don't realize that they hear it so often.
And now, next time they hear somebody, you know, talking like that or behaving ignorantly, they might go out of their way to be like, hey, you know, like that's not cool. So that takes you farther away than fighting somebody. Fighting somebody doesn't create like he's just gonna be every time he sees you, he's gonna be probably even more ignorant towards you know. So. Yeah.
So, did you go to school with some of the people in your refugee camp since they came over here?
I did with one of them.
One of them?
Yes.
And are you still friends with him today?
Oh yeah, I seen him about 2 weeks ago when I went to South Dakota.
Okay, he goes to school there? Or?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
he's done now.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay, what was like the age discrepancy in some of the friends you had? Was it pretty big, or were you guys all similar around?
Oh, we were all, the funny thing, we were all the same age.
Oh, really?
Or either 1 or 2 years apart.
Okay.
2 years apart, so it was never, we all grew with each other, so it was just normal for us to hang out anyway.
So you guys all hung out and had your own group, and you guys all faced these issues.
Yeah, well, that's what made it easier probably
okay.
for me, was that I had a group to rely on that.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, that would definitely make sense. So you guys all played sports together, or what were you guys doing?
Basketball, football, soccer.
Okay, right on. How was that? Did you guys have, were you guys playing soccer in the refugee camp and whatnot?
Oh yeah, soccer is big. People are asking, if you even have like a ball, like not even a ball, a sock or anything like that, people they just love playing soccer.
Was that one of the things you spent the majority of your time doing?
Yeah, when I first came to the States, I used to play soccer a lot, but then I really got into basketball. That's what I really started playing basketball and track more.
Definitely when LeBron went to the Cavs and grew your interest.
Yeah, because when I went to the NBA game, I was like, definitely this is what I like. And Jordan, it was Michael Jordan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Watching Michael Jordan made me play basketball.
Really? That's interesting. That's cool. Did you want to play in college at all? Or?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I played at university in Chicago.
Okay, how was that?
It was good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Chicago is a great city. I met a lot of people there.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I could have pursued like a professional career in Europe, but I really feel like I would rather go to my country and invest my time in that. Because, basketball is a huge investment of time.
Sure.
And I just feel like, it's too much of an investment of my time right now. And I could be doing, like, saving lives, basically, help somebody. So
it's very honorable.
Yeah.
That's a great outlook to have. That's a cool motivation, I would say. Let's see here. So, what else do you think is important that I should know about you?
Well, just about my passion for helping my country. That's all I want to do. It really bothers me. Like every day I wake up and I read news on South Sudan. I can't help it. All I do is basically read up and try to see what I can do to help. And I feel like, that's like my mission. That's basically what I'm here to do.
So you said you're making this youth movement with some of the other people that you've been involved with all your life, and what are the steps that you guys have been taking to?
Well, right now we're just trying to get names, and we're just trying to see who is willing to commit their time. Not money. It has nothing to do with money, but just their time and their effort. Like we're trying to send clothes back. We're trying to send anything we can right now back to South Sudan to help, because people are, they don't have anything. So I know I've taken it upon myself. I have clothes that I want to send back, and I know a couple of my friends have also done the same thing. So we're just trying to do any little thing that we can, whether it's supplies, medical supplies, because they don't have that either. So whether it's just even rubbing alcohol, just boxes of anything, And my uncle that I said works in Omaha, that's a doctor. Every year he goes back and delivers supplies.
Okay.
But I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to do it this year because of the war situation right now.
Is it escalating right now?
Yeah, it's basically, it's been at the same level for 3 months right now. And it's not looking like it's gonna calm down anytime soon. We hope so, but there's gonna have to be a lot of pressure on both sides for them to finally stop fighting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see. I kind of went through everything here. I think, that's all I have. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Best of luck with everything you're doing. Hope this summer goes well for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Dr. Crew's great. I know she'll appreciate this.
Yeah, like